Ohio State has been producing star wide receiver after star wide receiver. While the Buckeyes had plenty of good receivers throughout the 2010s, the past 2 or 3 seasons have led to an unseen era of wide receivers at Ohio State. It started with both Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, as both these guys came in, played absurd, and got drafted in the first round. They're also both having NFL success. Last year, we saw the rise of Jackson Smith-Njigba, who arguably became the best, if not one of the best wide receivers in the nation. Keep in mind, he was also the backup to Olave and Wilson. Unfortunately, he has dealt with injury issues this year, but other guys such as Emeka Egbuka and Julian Fleming have stepped up. There's one player, though, who could potentially be better than all 5 of the guys I've most recently talked about, and has so much potential he could break college football and become a superstar in the NFL. I mean, it does run in his veins. In today's video, we're obviously going to be talking about the rise of Marvin Harrison Jr. He's been off to an insane start this season, has showcased pretty much unlimited potential at Ohio State, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with him. We're going to tell his story, go through his Ohio State career, and why everyone is so high on him. But before we get into it, we're nearly 5,000 subscribers away from 100K, so quickly be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like if you want to support today's video, turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload, and let me know what player, topic, team, or situation I can cover next. Now, let's get started with the insane rise of Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm assuming you guys know who Marvin Harrison is, right? He was a college football superstar and went on to have a highly decorated career at the Colts. I think highly decorated is an understatement, as he is now a Hall of Famer, and you could argue is one of the better receivers in NFL history. Like father, like son, Marvin Harrison Jr. took a liking to the game. Combining his dad's success with his extremely hardworking mom, it was the perfect formula for MH3 to become the superstar he is now. He pointed to his mom getting up at 4:30 a.m. every day to work, and his dad's success as focal points growing up. Harrison Jr. wanted to become a big star, but in order to do that, he'd have to block out the noise and live up to the insane hype. When he got to high school, he originally played football for LaSalle College, but him and his family decided that a transfer would be the best move for him, so he went to a local powerhouse school instead. Harrison Jr. would arrive at St. Joseph's Prep in Philadelphia with high expectations. But it wasn't the perfect transition, as he didn't have daunting size and he was unproven. His head coach said, quote, "When he first got here, it was a little bit of a struggle for him. Getting into the flow, being in a different place, and learning how we do things here at a practice, academic, and social standpoint, and all those different things were tough for him. Eventually, his insane athleticism and determination would pay off, though, as he would blow up alongside his quarterback, Kyle McCord. McCord eventually became a 5-star quarterback, and the two would develop a very special connection while at St. Joe's. The school was a very big-time and prestigious school in the area, and the two would become local legends. But when the world got shut down, it forced football players and everyone to get creative. They did not want to be left behind, so they would sneak onto the football field at 6 a.m. to practice with each other, and they would never complain because that was just part of being great, and they wanted to play at the highest possible level. Because of many factors, Harrison Jr. would become a big-time recruit and earned his offer to Ohio State as only a sophomore. Brian Hartline was extremely impressed with him and obviously wanted him to become a Buckeye. A big reason for that was because Harrison was a tremendous blocker. During the Urban Meyer era, Meyer was known to go after receivers who loved to block and never took a play off. It was something that the OSU staff would always look into, and his high school coach said, quote, "If that is what Ohio State is looking for, they're going to get somebody who can catch the ball, who can block, and when the ball is not going to him, is not going to take a play off. He's not a prima donna, and he's not a diva." So we now know how the story goes. Marvin Harrison III gets better and better, and ended up following his high school quarterback Kyle McCord to Ohio State. Harrison committed to Ohio State over the likes of LSU, Michigan, Penn State, Texas A&M, and a ton of other offers. He became the 5th member of the class of 2021, and Ohio State fans were pumped for good reason. But why Ohio State? Well, it seems like a lot of these receivers, the number one factor seems to be Brian Hartline. Harrison said, quote, "He knows what he's talking about. He also has a different skill perspective, even outside of football. He helps you mentally, and he's a coach that can tell you how to catch the ball or run a route, but can also tell you how to do things mentally and advance your game that way too." That's what gets a lot of people. So yeah, Hartline was obviously a great Ohio State receiver, spent some time in the NFL, and seems to be very relatable to a lot of younger recruits and younger players. It's honestly not talked about enough how good of a coach Brian Hartline is, but Hartline secured a stud. Harrison would produce on the field during his career, as in total he caught 144 passes for 2,625 yards and 37 touchdowns. He also helped St. Joseph's win 3 straight 6A state championships, and the guy left as a winner. He was insane, and 24/7 Sports Scouts agreed. They listed him as a 4-star recruit, the number 14 wide receiver, and the 97th best player in the class of 2021. So, how would MH3 do at Ohio State? Well, let's take a look. When Marvin arrived at Ohio State, there was going to be a ton of hype. Luckily for him, there'd be plenty of guys to show him the ropes. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jackson Smith-Njigba all became superstars in 2021, and they would guide the young Harrison and set the tone for how his career would need to go and the level of play he would need to play at. Last season, he was stuck behind all of them, but he'd still get a couple of opportunities to play. Last year, he would appear in 3 regular season games, catching a combined 5 passes for 68 yards in wins over Akron, Indiana, and Nebraska. He didn't play a whole lot, but he'd get his opportunity in the Rose Bowl. After Ohio State would miss out on the college football playoff, they'd be matched up with the scorching hot number 11 Utah Utes. This game was one of the best bowl games in recent memory, as Ohio State would win 48-45 in a classic, and Marvin Harrison went off. Because both Olave and Wilson had opted out, we got a chance to see the potential Harrison had. He caught 6 passes for 71 yards and 3 touchdowns, which was one of the best performances for an Ohio State freshman ever, and showed that he was going to be a problem in 2022. Going into his sophomore year, he was named to Bruce Feldman's freak list and debuted at number 2. Harrison, though, was not too concerned about it. He said, quote, "With someone like me, they say a lot of those things are genetics, but I had to put a lot of work into running as fast as I can, changing directions, and being as strong as I am. I'm honored to be appearing on this list, but this game is about skill and technique, and athleticism is only going to get you so far." So as we went into the 2022 season, everyone was talking about JSN and the potential of Marvin Harrison, but I don't think anyone expected him to have the kind of season he's having right now. With Njigba struggling with injury all year, Harrison has become the go-to guy. He had 5 catches for 56 yards in a win over number 5 Notre Dame, and then had an insane 7 catches for 184 yards and 3 touchdowns against Arkansas State. That is still to this date his best game of his career, and it showed that he was going to be a problem. The following week, he catch 6 passes for 102 yards and 2 scores against Toledo, and then would help them in a dominating win over Wisconsin. He'd catch a touchdown against Rutgers before he would torch Michigan State's defense for 7 catches, 131 yards, in another 3-score game. This was now his 3rd game of having 3 touchdowns, and Marvin Harrison was showing that he was pretty much unguardable. Against Iowa, he'd catch 7 passes for 62 yards and a touchdown, and that's actually quite impressive with how good Iowa's defense typically is. This past weekend, though, Harrison showed up in what was the biggest game of the season. In a Big Ten East showdown against number 13 Penn State, Ohio State found themselves down, but Harrison would have a very productive game. He catch 10 passes for 185 yards and helped them to a 44-31 victory. While he did not score a touchdown, he was solid, put up big numbers, and helped them get an important win, and that's honestly all that seems to really matter to Harrison right now. So far through 8 games, Harrison has 48 catches for 783 yards and 10 touchdowns, and while those numbers alone are great, his athleticism is insane. The sky seems to be the limit for his ceiling, and many are talking about how he's already the best wide receiver for the 2023 season. I say pump the brakes just a little bit, but the hype is definitely warranted. He is showing us how insane he is, and I'm really excited to watch the future and see what happens to MH3. But what do you guys think? If you're an Ohio State fan, what do you think of Marvin Harrison Jr.? What do you think of his NFL potential? And who's another player from around college football I could do a video on next? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.